Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Cowabunga, dudes and dudettes. I'm Adam the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown, a turn-based adventure with a miniatures aesthetic by Strange Scaffold. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Like many 90s kids, I grew up watching the 1987 cartoon, and it's still the first thing I think of to this day whenever TMNT is mentioned. I had the first NES video game as a child, and, well, maybe I'll review that one later, if I can ever get past that level at the dam. Since then, most video games based off the franchise have either been beat-em-ups or fighters, and to be fair, that's the natural direction for the series. But it does lead to the game starting to feel a little samey. Even if you have a favorite pizza, you still want to try different toppings from time to time. But no fudge or anchovies for me, please. Tactical Takedown is a turn-based tactics game where you'll take on the role of one of the turtles, traveling through a miniature cityscape and fighting against the Foot Clan. This doesn't seem to be set in any pre-existing canon, but you'll see a number of familiar foes all the same, most notably Karai, who serves as the game's primary antagonist. And it includes references to other familiar characters as well. Each level has a specific character assigned to it. So for example, for the tutorial in the first real level, you'll take on the role of Michelangelo, whose moveset gives him a lot of extra movement even while attacking. Each turn, you'll have 6 action points. For 1 AP, you'll have a basic jump which lets you move up to 2 spaces, with the exception of Mikey's Ollie, which allows you to move up to 3. You'll also have 4 different abilities you can use, which cost 1 or 2 AP. Most of these are various forms of attacks, though sometimes they will be support moves that don't deal damage. Returning to the example of the first couple levels, Mikey's default kit includes Nunchuck Rush, which deals 2 damage to an adjacent target for 1 AP and moves you into their space if you defeat the target. Kickflip moves you 2 spaces and deals 1 point of damage to an enemy if you move through them in the process and juggles them, which both prevents them from acting on their turn and causes them to take extra damage for the rest of yours. You'll learn to love the juggle status. Flying Foot deals no damage, but pushes an enemy 2 spaces. If they hit into a wall, they'll take 1 damage. If they hit into another enemy, both will take the damage. If they get pushed off the stage, they'll be defeated instantly. Stages are generally kept small, so this is actually quite useful. Finally, you'll also have Gangway. Unlike the aforementioned moves, this one costs 2 AP, but allows you to move 3 spaces and damage any enemies you move through in the process. And for each enemy you defeat this way, you'll restore 1 action point. Of course, each turtle has their own moveset. Raphael has the shortest range, but has a lot of attacks that can hit multiple nearby foes at once and inflict Shaken. Shaken is like a weaker version of Juggle. They still take the extra damage, but get to take their next turn as normal. Donatello, on the other hand, is the master of Keep Away. Most of his abilities are able to attack at range, he's capable of studying enemies and setting up traps for them to jump into. And finally, Leonardo is capable of self-buffing, with abilities that give him Radical, dealing extra damage on his next attack, and Evasion, allowing him to automatically dodge the next attack that would otherwise hit him. And Evasion stacks infinitely, so you can build him up to be ridiculously difficult to touch. On the subject of dodging, you also have a chance to randomly dodge attacks even if you don't have evasion, but the game never explains how this works or what the chance is, or if it's different between turtles for that matter. It's not something you can rely on, but it did save me a few times. You also have a special meter which builds up as you defeat enemies. Once it's full, you can activate it to call a drone and use a chosen special move based off of one of the other turtles. So for example, Raphael's corkscrew attack was my favorite of the lot, but Raph himself can't use it, so instead I had him use Leo or Donnie's specials. Each stage is predetermined. It'll be built turn by turn as you progress, with parts that are no longer relevant being removed. Most of the time, you'll simply have to advance through the level, but sometimes you'll have to defeat specific enemies for the next part of the level to spawn in, or to simply finish the level. Any enemies that are there when a part of the level phases out will be removed as well, though you won't get any points for defeating them this way. And if you're on a space when it's removed, you'll lose a life. It's kind of odd to talk about having lives in a tactics game, but you start with 6 HP, and if you lose that, you'll respawn on your next turn with 1 less life. At the end of each level, your remaining lives will act as a score multiplier, so you're intended to be able to do each in a single life. But for those who are less used to tactical games, you should still be able to get through as long as you're not too worried about your score. I got through most of the game without losing a single life, while I was only able to reach the target score for about half the stages. How is this possible? Quite simply, you build up a combo multiplier by defeating multiple enemies in a single turn. I generally focused on simply taking out foes as soon as possible when they came out, but if I was focusing wholly on my score, it would have been smarter for me to leave more of them standing to combo on future turns. After each level, you'll earn a number of shells, which can be used to unlock new moves as well as songs for the game's music player. Each turtle has 2 base sets, which includes 2 moves tied together, and 6 moves which are equipable separately, of which you can take any 2 into battle. Presentation-wise, the game has a miniatures aesthetic which feels pretty unique. In case you're not a subscriber, I also review tabletop games, so I actually find this to be a really fun stylistic choice. Though it's important to note that they don't use this as an excuse to be lazy. Each of the turtles' moves does change the mini to show that they've just used that ability, so they aren't completely static. All the environments are cityscapes, but each turtle does have a specific area, so things have some variety. Mikey's levels take place in the alleyways, Raph's on the rooftops, Donnie's down in the sewers, while Leo patrols the subways. Story-wise, things are pretty simple. It is still TMNT after all. The brothers have drifted apart after Splinter gave his life to let them defeat the Shredder, both dying in the process. Mikey is the only one still living in their sewer home, and is ambushed by the Foot Clan, now led by Karai. For those only familiar with the 80s cartoon, she's Shredder's descendant and often acts as his lieutenant and successor. From there, most of the game is about shutting down the robberies the Foot are committing. Although Tactical Takedown is rather light on plot, there is one thing that is essential to the plot that I need to discuss for a full review. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please jump ahead to the time codes indicated on screen. Initiate temporal distortion now. Still with me? Then don't say I didn't warn you. Most of the story is more about the turtles reuniting than anything else, but slowly they piece together what Karai is doing, stealing parts of Shredder's armor. Baxter Stockman, who seems to be trapped in a computer, is helping her to create a hard-like construct of Shredder, effectively creating an AI clone of him. But of course, there's no honor among thieves, and Stockman is actually just planning on taking control of the construct as a body for himself. Regardless, Donatello finds a prototype and uses it to allow the turtles to confront Stockman in his virtual domain. However, as they're all piloting it together, their avatar isn't based off of any one of them, but rather off of Splinter. The final 3 levels will have you using this to fight the toughest battles. His moveset is a mixture of the turtles, with his special being an enhanced version of Raph's. The turtles use their fatherly facsimile to defeat the Cyber Shredder Stockman, reunite as a team, and the city that never sleeps can sleep soundly once again. Welcome back, Chronauts. You're just in time to join us for the conclusion. All in all, Tactical Takedown is a fun, light title that can be enjoyed in small sessions. It's pretty simple in execution, and it is a nice break from the typical flow of beat-em-ups that we're all used to. It's probably no surprise that I'm a big fan of the tabletop aesthetic, and there's a good bit of variety between movesets. If you're wondering if this one is appropriate for children, it's solidly in the PG range. There is of course a lot of violence, but it's implied that their foes are never killed, and there's no blood or cursing in the game. It feels pretty close to the 2003 cartoon in terms of tone. Definitely harsher than the other cartoons, but not nearly as much so as the comics. On the downside, it is a bit buggy at the moment. Devs do seem to be active on the Steam forums and looking into them, but as of the time of writing, there haven't been any post-launch patches to fix them. And the game is pretty short. It took me less than 6 hours to beat it. And of course, there is the elephant in the room that you can only ever control one turtle at a time. You'll never have all 4 of them, or even 2 of them, working together at the same time. Still, if you're a fan of TMNT and want something different from the usual games we get, you should definitely consider this one. In conclusion, I find Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown to be worthy of a solid 7.3 out of 10. TMNT Tactical Takedown is currently available for PC via Steam. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Tactical Takedown? What genres do you think that TMNT would work well with? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow Fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.